That number is $20,000 in savings. It's not rich, but it's enough to stop you from being easy prey. I'm Miles, and I'll say it straight. Your bank doesn't need you bankrupt. They just need you slightly short. Just short enough to pay fees, to borrow, to panic. This is entertainment, not financial advice. But if you watch to the end, you'll get a clear map to reach that $20,000 mark and understand why that line changes the color of the entire game. The interesting part is, once you cross it, you become a customer they can't easily profit from. And that is exactly what they don't like. Before you have $20,000, you live in mental math mode. You see gas prices, you see groceries, and you ask yourself if you can make it through the week. And that question loops in your head like background noise. One bill arriving a day early can tighten your chest, because everything is stacked like dominoes. When the dominoes fall, they don't knock over one thing. They knock over your whole month. You watch small problems turn into crises because you don't have a buffer to absorb the hit. One car repair becomes credit card debt. One doctor visit becomes a payment plan. One broken appliance becomes a fast loan. This isn't living, it's surviving. And surviving for too long makes you forget what peace feels like. In the next part, I'll show you why one specific threshold changes everything. The same emergencies still happen, but they lose the power to break you. $20,000 isn't a throne. It's a mattress that's finally thick enough. For a lot of people, it's roughly 4 to 6 months of basic expenses, enough to buy time when life ambushes you. If you lose a job, you don't have to grab the first thing you can. You have a few months to choose something better. If a medical surprise hits, it still hurts. But you're not forced to sign a bad deal out of fear. The biggest change isn't in your account. It's in your nervous system. That low, constant anxiety drops, because your brain stops treating every expense like a threat. You start making decisions from clarity, not panic. And the moment that happens, you start stepping out of the bank's profit zone. Next, I'll explain exactly how they profit from people who live close to the edge. One of the easiest ways banks profit from regular people is overdraft fees. You dip a few dollars below zero right when a payment hits, and suddenly you get slapped with a fee that feels personal. Worse, if multiple charges clear while you're negative, you can get hit again and again in the same day. You were already short, and now you're paying money for the crime of being short. But when you have $20,000, you have a buffer. You rarely hit that bottom edge, and overdrafts almost disappear. For you, overdraft fees become a rare event. For the bank, that revenue stream dries up. You start to see why they love customers who live right at the boundary. And that's only the first profit source. Next comes the one they love even more. Selling money to people who feel desperate. When you're short on cash and you need it fast, you don't buy money at a fair price. You buy it at the price of panic. You run into products that sound polite, but carry high interest, heavy fees, and thick terms, all wrapped in one familiar sentence. Sign now. Figure it out later. Desperate people don't negotiate. They don't compare. They just want to survive the week. And surviving on debt is the most expensive way to survive. When you have $20,000, you stop buying money while you're scared. If you need $2,000 for an emergency, you transfer it from savings. Done. No begging. No interest. No fees. You cut off a major profit opportunity, earning money from your urgency. But banks still have a very stubborn revenue source: credit card interest. In the next part, I'll show you why they prefer you carrying a balance. Instead of using a card the smart way, credit cards aren't evil. What's dangerous is using them as an emergency fund. Below the $20,000 mark, a lot of people can't pay the full statement each month because one surprise expense forces them to hold on to cash just to stay alive. When you pay the minimum, interest builds like dust. It sticks every day, and it never truly goes away. You feel like you're paying, but really you're paying for the privilege of staying in debt. When you have $20,000, you change the rules. You use the card for convenience and rewards. Then you pay it off in full, on time, with zero interest. To the credit card world, that kind of customer is hard to profit from. Because you use the product without feeding it interest, you turn the card from a trap into a tool. And they don't want you learning that. But they still have another way to pull money out of you, even without debt: account fees. And that's next. Many banks charge monthly maintenance fees, then offer to waive them if you keep a minimum balance. It sounds fair. But if you live paycheck to paycheck, your money comes in and goes right back out. It doesn't sit still long enough to qualify. You get charged simply because you can't keep cash parked in one place. And the cruel part is, building that habit requires a buffer in the first place. When you have $20,000, those minimum balances become easy. You clear the threshold without thinking. You get the fee waived, and another revenue stream dries up. Little by little, you step out of the money vacuum. Overdrafts drop. Maintenance fees drop. Expensive borrowing drops. But the most invisible profit source is psychological. Stress makes you buy wrong, sign wrong, and rush. And that's what we talk about next. When money stress is high, your brain looks for quick relief. Gen Z calls it buying a treat, buying to cope, buying for a short dopamine hit. One small purchase won't destroy you, but one small purchase repeated, right when you're mentally weak, becomes a long cut. Stress makes you crave instant control, and your wallet becomes the sacrifice. $20,000 doesn't just protect you from emergencies. It protects you from your own stress response. When you have a cushion, you don't need to shop to calm your nervous system as often, because you're no longer living on the cliff edge. You can wait. You can compare. You can say no. And sometimes that one no saves more than an extra shift. So what truly changes in your mind below and above that line? Next, I'll name it clearly. Scarcity brain versus breathing room. Below 20,000. You operate like someone who's always low on oxygen. Every decision is survival. Do I have enough? What if something goes wrong? I shouldn't risk it. Your brain runs calculations nonstop. And because you're exhausted, you choose the fast solution, not the right one. You think you're being careful, but fear is driving the wheel. Above 20,000. You're not a billionaire. You simply have room to breathe. Breathing room creates options, and options create power. You can take a job that pays a bit less but has real growth, because missing one paycheck won't destroy you. You can negotiate harder because you don't need to close today. In the next part, I'll give you one real example where the same person in the same workplace suddenly flips the power dynamic, just by having a cushion. Picture a toxic boss who manages through pressure and control. When you live paycheck to paycheck, you're tied to payday like you're tied to a countdown clock. You know you should leave, but you fear one empty week, one delayed check, one small gap that collapses your entire month. And your boss can sense that, because trapped people are easy to manipulate. With $20,000 saved, you don't have to start a war. You just need an exit door. You can say no calmly, or walk away when you must, because you have months of runway. Same boss, same job, completely different game, because you have options. And this doesn't only apply to work. It applies to buying a car, renting an apartment, negotiating salary, and even business opportunities. So how do you reach this number when you're starting from zero? Next, I'll break it down simply. No hype. If you're at zero or carrying debt, 20,000 sounds like a wall. But that wall is built from small bricks, and you only need to place the first brick correctly. You start by finding a gap. Income minus expenses. Even $100 a month is still a crack of light. If there's no gap, you have only two directions. Cut something that doesn't matter, or increase income. No magic, just math. Then you let a system do the work for you. On payday, a fixed amount moves to savings automatically before you even see it. You treat that amount like a mandatory bill. You pay your future before you pay your impulse. And any windfall, a refund, a bonus, a gift, goes toward the goal, not toward a new thing, not toward a trip, toward the number. In the final part, I'll tie it all together and show you why waiting 4 years isn't scary. Because 4 years will pass whether you act or not. If you save consistently, say $400 a month, you're setting a rhythm. And that rhythm will carry you to $20,000 over time. It sounds slow, but time doesn't ask anyone for permission. You will arrive at a certain age either way. And there are only 2 versions of you. One with $20,000 in the bank, and one exactly where you are now because you never started. Once you start, you get hooked on watching the number grow. You naturally cut more waste. And when you get a raise, you keep part of it instead of inflating your lifestyle immediately. 20,000 isn't the finish line. It's the first milestone where the game shifts from defense to offense. Below it, you react. Fees and interest squeeze you. Fear runs the show. Above it, you have options. You negotiate from strength, and you force the system to serve you instead of extracting from you. If this video helped you understand why that first 20,000 matters, please subscribe right now. This channel is new, and I really need your support so I can keep publishing consistently. Comment your current number so we can track the journey together. And I'll see you in the next video.